When Rigby sees his owner walk into the room, his little claws tap quickly across the floor as he hurries over. He climbs right up onto his person's lap, tilts his head, and looks up with those bright, curious eyes. For a bearded dragon, that's his way of saying, "I missed you." Now, Rigby spends his days exploring, cuddling, and soaking up attention. But his story didn't start this way. He had been abandoned at a reptile shop on Black Friday. He was left behind in a small tank, scared, confused, and extremely underweight. When his future owner walked into the store that day, there were no plans to adopt any animal, let alone a lizard. But the moment they saw him, thin, dull, and shaking, something clicked. "He has to come home with us," they said without hesitation. When they first brought Rigby home, he was frightened of everything. Whenever someone got close, he'd turn dark and puff himself up, slapping his tail against the glass. He didn't trust anyone. His scales looked faded, his eyes sunken. It was clear that he hadn't been cared for in a long time. So, his new owner took things slow. The first step was a full vet check. They learned how to properly care for him, the right heat, food, and light. With patience and research, they started creating a home that felt safe. Each day, they sat by his tank and talked softly to him. Sometimes they gently slide open the glass and place a treat nearby, just to show he didn't have to be afraid anymore. At first, Rigby wouldn't move. He'd just stare, unsure whether to trust this strange human or not. Then one day, something small changed. His owner sat on the floor, staying perfectly still, and this time Rigby didn't run. He crept forward, step by step, until he reached the edge of the tank and slowly climbed onto their hand. It was the first time he had ever made the choice to come closer. That tiny moment was the start of everything. Over time, Rigby realized this human wasn't a threat. They were his friend. He began to climb onto their shoulder, rest on their chest, and close his eyes while soaking in the warmth of their presence. For a reptile once considered cold and emotionless, he showed plenty of affection. Now Rigby follows his owner around the room, curious about everything they do. When they sit down to eat, he watches with fascination, tilting his head like he's asking for a bite. He has his favorite toys and even enjoys being brushed gently with a soft toothbrush, closing his eyes as if he's at a tiny spa. Rigby has developed a big personality. His owner jokes that he's a 2-pound dog because he acts like one, clingy, spoiled, and always wanting attention. He loves being part of whatever's happening, even if it means climbing over the laptop or trying to nap on a pile of laundry. But Rigby can also be a little troublemaker. He's known to pick fights with the family dog, charging across the room with his tail wagging like a sword. Sometimes it's all bluff. Other times, he's clearly enjoying the chaos. It's as if he's saying, "This is my castle and I'm the king here." Despite his dramatic personality, Rigby's bond with his human is something special. He doesn't let anyone else handle him, not even for a moment. No one else gets his cuddles or his attention. He's chosen his person and he's loyal in his own little way. It's hard to believe that not long ago he was a frightened, unwanted reptile in a cold glass box. Now he's a confident, affectionate bearded dragon who knows he's loved. Every time he climbs up onto his owner's shoulder, it's a quiet reminder of how far he's come. His owner admits that at first, they never imagined a reptile could form such a bond. "I used to think lizards didn't have personalities," they said. "But the first time he climbed onto me, my heart just melted. I realized they feel, they trust, and they love just like any other pet." Rigby has taught them that animals of all kinds, even the ones we don't always understand, have emotions. They can build connections, show affection, and even make you laugh every single day. Now, every morning, Rigby starts his day basking under his heat lamp, blinking slowly in the light. When his owner walks in, he perks up immediately, waiting for his morning cuddle. He eats his greens, enjoys his bath time, and sometimes just sits quietly next to his favorite person, perfectly content. He may be small, but his spirit is enormous. And every time he climbs onto his owner's lap, there's no doubt that this little dragon feels safe, happy, and home at last. Rigby's story reminds us that love doesn't depend on species, size, or appearance. It's built through patience, trust, and care, one gentle moment at a time. If you're ever thinking of rescuing or adopting an exotic pet, take time to learn about their needs. Research, talk to professionals, and make sure you can give them the life they deserve. Because animals like Rigby depend on us to help them feel safe again. Now, Rigby isn't just surviving, he's thriving. He's funny, fearless, and full of life. He has a home where he's understood and loved for who he is. A tiny dragon with a giant heart. If Rigby's story warmed your heart, give it a like, share it, or tell us about your own rescue story in the comments. Every story shared helps another animal find love.